welcome, Dr. Naomi. It's amazing to have you. I must say, this has come so quickly. I think we thought about asking you on for a live and hadn't been brave enough, and then random messaged you, and you just said yes to everything. So we're we're hugely grateful. As we said in one of the blog posts, the first time I came across you was actually quite a big changing moment for me, because you'd written a blog about a complication one of your patients had had, and that really changed my attitude to sharing these things. And it's been really quite important for me in my journey so far to basically be quite open about these things that happen to all of us, but that don't often get spoken about. So
guys, we're live on Instagram now. So Naomi, if you could possibly watch.
Do you want me to go on Insta?
I wish I could see myself. I can't seem to see anything.
I might go on to Facebook and watch yourself.
Oh, there's Zoom. Okay.
But it's a bit of a lag.
So we're just setting up the Instagram side of things. For everyone who's watching, if you want to drop any comments in wherever you are, maybe we'll have a chance to answer some of those questions.
Okay, hang on. I've got to join.
I've never had an Instagram live with so many people watching, so it's hard to kind of find Naomi and everyone else.
Now, the last time I did a live, my phone fell over, so let's hope that doesn't happen. All right, I've request. Yay! It's working.
Okay, are we live on both platforms then? Right. Can turn the volume down on that.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, jump me there. I'll turn it down a bit.
I'm just hearing an echo from our side.
It's from my side.
Turn it down there.
Oh, hang on. Or will I turn mine down? Because then, oh yeah.
Hopefully it's not.
Amanda?
Let me go outside and share and just see whether
We'll test it on the other call. So just to give us some bearings, what time is it over there for you?
It's 7 p.m. Saturday night. 7 p.m.
Okay, so we're 10 in the morning. There are a few people apparently tuning in hungover. I was warned last night. So that's how good this is. This has been called the greatest thing to come out of lockdown, which was quite flattering. Hopefully it's worth shutting down the economy for this discussion.
Wow. No pressure.
That's too annoying. Okay. I don't know if we can do it on both sides. Yes.
Hi, Dr. Natasha.
A headphone in the phone, that would probably work. We're just going to stick a headphone in our phone so we don't hear the echo.
Big echo from Dr. Tim Pearce. Oh, too much echoing. Okay.
Is that any better?
Right now I'm going to go test it.
Hi, Nicola. No, they're saying the echo is terrible.
Say some stuff.
Hi, Artie Beauty Boy. I know, because they're getting me on. I know I can't.
Trying to do it on two platforms. I think if you put some headphones in your phone, it might stop the echo. I'm not sure.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah, that's worked on Instagram. I'll just go and check on Facebook. Keep going, guys.
Oh, now I can't put it here. I'm going to have to hold my phone. Oh, that's annoying. Okay. Hey, anybody, any questions while we're waiting? Good morning and good evening. Hello.
Okay, let's see if it's going to work.
If it doesn't work, we can always we can always do an Insta live anytime.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds okay to me now.
Is that okay?
I'm not getting an echo from me or from you.
Woohoo!
I think
How is it, everybody on Insta? Sorry about I'm so low, but I'm high for the Zoom. So. Okay.
Well, let's crack on then. Welcome. As I said, it's been interesting to see all the comments come through. Everyone's extremely excited. So as I said, someone said it's the greatest thing to come out of lockdown, which I thought was hilarious. Someone else said, "Oh, Dr. Naomi, I wouldn't know. She blocked me years ago." So So I'd really like to explore some of what's got you to where you are today, which has been a phenomenal success story. I was looking at some of.
Hang on, they're saying on Instagram, they're just saying it's really bad, terrible echo, can't understand. Should we just give up on the Insta Live and just do this and then do another one? What do you think?
Okay, what do you think?
Can't hear Tim as echo.
It's this phone that's causing the problem.
Is it because I can plug the thing across?
Sound is horrible, echoing Tim.
Okay.
Am I echoing?
I think we just better choose one platform or the other.
Yeah, they're saying I'm okay, but you're echoing.
I think this must be this phone.
Sorry, everybody. While they're working on it, feel free to ask me any questions. Thanks, Natasha. Thanks, everybody. On Facebook, it's fine. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. You want to know about anti-wrinkles in traps? I'm good. How are you? How did I build my client base? How long have you been? I've been in aesthetics 20 years. Whoa, so many questions. Okay.
I think we better choose one platform or the other. I don't.
Oh, okay. Hey, everybody, can you go to Facebook? You're going to have to go to Facebook because
It's instantly better for some reason.
It's not happening. Yes, we are opening on Monday.
I don't know why, but that suddenly sounds better to me. I'm not actually entirely sure if I'm even on Instagram, but let's carry on.
Yeah,
Sounds okay to me at the moment.
It could be from the microphone. Okay, we'll do. Oh no, hang on. They're saying okay, go to Facebook. Okay, that's better now. We've got that's better now.
Okay. I have no idea even what I did, but it's working. Okay.
I think so.
So I wanted to start. I was looking at some old videos, doing my research, trying to figure out a little bit more about your story. And I gather that it started for you in 1999 with your first ever conference.
Yes.
I was kind of wondering what it was, the kind of bit, your kind of Spider-Man story. When was the moment where you realized that you wanted to do aesthetics instead of? Okay,
so I was an intern or a resident. I can't remember which at a hospital in Sydney. And I hated it. I just thought there's nothing for me. I don't like surgery. I don't like medicine. I thought, okay, I'll just do psychiatry. And then Botox arrived in Australia. Sorry, not allowed to say it. Then anti-wrinkle injections arrived in Australia and I had it in my crow's feet as a 24 or 5-year-old and thought, this is it. This is for me.
So this is your own personal experience, and the feeling it created in you when you had it made you think, I want to be able to do that for other people. Yeah, and also just seeing what the job was. Yeah, changing people's faces. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you then gone on this interesting journey where and I actually remember seeing a blog of yours a long time ago where you were quite open about saying, I want to go full time into content creation. Yeah. And so there's like a second bug that bit you later on. Can you tell me about when you realized? Yeah, that was in 2000 sort of after I started creating. I created content from 2011 when I started my blog, and I didn't want to, like in the beginning, I really just wanted to, there was really bad information sources and just no truth out there. It was terrible. And I just wanted to get the truth out back in 2011. So I started doing that. And then I thought, oh, I love this more than clinical medicine. So I want to work towards doing this full time. So what is it that's, because I imagine back in the day, because as I said, the first time I came across you was when I was trying to learn about vascular occlusion, and I found your blog on that. And I learned two things from it. Firstly, it was much more real than what you get from a paper, because you actually had the real kind of evolving story, which I really liked. But also the thing that changed my mindset was that a doctor was sharing a complication that they had, which actually is fairly rare. Like often people pretend these things don't happen to us, and actually happens to all of us eventually.
Back then, it was not done at all. People would never do it. I really wanted to share the good, the bad, the ugly. I wanted to share with other injectors. I wanted to share with patients so that they could go in knowing what could really go wrong. Just to ask you, are you talking about the complication, the temple filler, where the person got hair loss associated? Do you remember if that was the occlusion? Yeah. And that's a really interesting case too. So that was the other reason that I wanted to share it.
Yeah, it was super interesting. But a really good example that you can share it, because I know from talking to many clinicians that often if they have any complication, they almost want to hide it. And actually it can make things a lot worse when you're trying to hide these things, and actually learning from it and sharing it can actually be what that became to you is an asset rather than a liability. And I think it's an interesting thing to discover when you're basically trying to ground it in the truth, which I really like that idea that like these things are really happening. Why not talk about them? But it wasn't also done in a salacious way. It was really about the journey and rectifying it, which I liked.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So what I'd like everyone watching to take from that is that these things are that you're most afraid of. So long as you're responsible and you face up to them, you're actually able to improve. They, as I said, they become an asset to you, which is I think what you did really well in that case. I also wanted to go on to, so there's a degree of bravery going on there, as we talked about just before we came on. There's definitely a degree of bravery going on there, and I'm kind of intrigued by your psychology in terms of what you're able to put yourself through in terms of when expressing your truth. Like, because it's fair to say, I think that a lot of your content gets a response because not everyone likes it, which is, if everyone likes it, it's probably pretty bland. So tell us a little bit about you confronting those more negative sides and how you've managed to.
So in terms of whenever I make content, I always put myself in the person looking at the content. So I think, how am I going to give them value? So it's always, that's 100% what I'm thinking whenever I'm doing it. And I don't know. People always ask me this. I'm not really sure. I think I'm just quite logical about it. I think, well, if they don't like it, and what? And what's the next step? Well, I mean, and so what?
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Yeah. So you're not taking it, you're seeing it as a, it's noise on the internet. Was it like that? Was it like that from the beginning? Were you always like that, or was that something you had to grow into?
Okay. So I guess it starts quite slow, the trolls, because you grow a bigger following with time. But I mean, I remember the first time someone called me a crusty Barbie or something, and that stuck with me. Whereas, I've had a million horrible things since then, which I would forget. So I remember that, but then the negativity does get super, super, super intense, but each time it gets to a new level, it sort of makes the levels beneath it appear so irrelevant. And then, you've been through all of those before. I mean, I've had very serious things happen. So, yeah. And so all of the petty stuff is just like, whatever, do your best.
So how are you persisting? I mean, how does it ever knock you back and you kind of don't feel like posting quite as much after a bad day of that? Or do you find that there's something about you that manages to keep going no matter what?
So weirdly, it's a little bit like fuel for me.
Interesting.
Yeah. Fuel for creativity.
So tell me more about that. Like, if you go from put yourself back to one of the worst ones you've had, like how did that evolve?
Okay. So, I'll have to tell you about the worst ones that I've had. So the worst, actually, 2 people were arrested for. So that was pretty intense. And so there was 2 court cases. So that was really serious. So when you've been through that, the rest is really quite petty. And these are people I've never met as well. So you can see how my perspective is different.
Yeah. So they were obviously committing crimes in what they were saying to you.
They were, yes, they were.
But how did that fuel you? How did you then use that
So
to?
that didn't fuel me. That was horrible at the time, but it did sort of tip me over the edge to get away from clinical medicine, actually. So in a way, I'm very grateful for it, because I just thought, I just don't want to be around the public. Yeah.
Ah, right. So that was one of the reasons why you decided to move away from.
I don't think it was the reason, because it was always the plan, but it was that last little catalyst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've really faced down some personal threats, actually, which is a whole lot more than.
Yeah, one of them did threaten to harm me. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm glad that justice was served. You feel that that's over now?
Oh yeah, it was years ago.
Okay, great. So the what made me laugh was.
Do you want me to go back to just like the regular stuff, the regular yabba? So there's a lot of that been happening in the last week, really intensely, especially industry stuff because of COVID, because of us going back to work. There's been a lot of that, and even as simple as this, I have to always try and find humor in it. So all of these people who've been so horrible to me, all of the haters coming out of the woodwork, have triggered me. Next week, I've got plans for the content I'm making, and it's going to be amazing. Like, it's going to be funny. It's going to be, it's going to be really great. And it is a bit triggered by that.
Interesting. So I have to admit that around our house, I often hear Miranda laughing in different rooms, and probably 80% of the time I walk in and say, "What you're laughing at? It's one of your memes." So,
oh, that's really nice.
So you've definitely got a gift for those for generating stuff like that. But it's really interesting for us to hear that you're kind of making sense and responding to some quite negative stuff through humor. Which is actually kind of that's how I like to think humor is. Actually, it's one of those mechanisms that help us digest things and see them from different perspectives. Which is, by the way, sometimes why people don't like everything, is because they don't want to see it from a different perspective.
No, and the other thing I find is when you use a lot of humor, there's such an epidemic of poor comprehension. So they don't understand the target of the joke compared to the subject, and they confuse them, and it's just poor comprehension. And that causes so much drama all the time, but that's their problem.
Yeah. Well, a lot of humor is like the tip of the iceberg of understanding a whole field of a whole lot of complexity. Then you're kind of highlighting a little chink in something with something that's only funny if you understand the depth of it. So I do understand that.
Yes, that's right.
So how much of this is coming straight from your head? Is this mostly you looking at this, generating? You must be all the time thinking about funny angles and memes of these, or have you got other people who are kind of helping you with it?
Pre-COVID, I had a social media assistant who's amazing. But yeah, no, at the moment I don't have anyone helping me.
So where do you get your, you said you get some of your inspiration. Is it mainly from engaging with your own page? Are you on your own page, reading the comments and coming up with ideas to respond to it, make sense of it? Or is it more general than that?
Oh, it's much more general than that. Yeah. I'm not a huge Instagram consumer in general. I'm not a huge social media consumer. I'm much more of a creator. I'm more of a life consumer, and then it comes out as creation on Instagram.
Ah, right. Interesting. So you kind of got your feelers out everywhere, and then throwing it into Instagram rather than responding directly to what's on Instagram. Yeah. So I was interested when I saw, because there's a couple of clinicians who, like I said, the one that kind of made me laugh when she was like, "I wouldn't know because she blocked me years ago." I'm interested in what point, at what point do you decide this is no longer a debate and it's not serving me and I'm going to block someone? Like, how do you make that decision?
No, so it depends. It just depends how I feel at the time. And it depends on the stage. So I was going through a period where I was like, anyone who kills my vibe, they're gone. Like, what do I want a vibe killer on my Instagram for? Then the other day, one of my poor doctors, Dr. Jing, this is only in the last week, she started getting this troll who was obsessed with her appearance. And the first time it happened, I just thought, you know, I ignored it. The next time it happened, and then it happened a few more times, and she was extremely focused, even to the down to the detail of, she's got a scar on her face. I don't know if it's from a facelift. It looks really bad, you know. And she was just obsessed with Jing. And Jing just said to me, please block when they're mean. And I thought, I'm going to try that one from now on. When they're mean.
Block when they mean. That's interesting, yeah. Because I've been through the same journey myself, and there's you can tell when someone is. I tolerate different ideas. You kind of have to tolerate different ways of seeing things, and you often get things like you said. You actually get learning because they're giving you a different perspective. But there's a point where they're trying to hurt you. That I think is, and it's not the necessary. You know, they may not have had breakfast, or you know, they're going through a divorce. You never know what's going on. But at the same point, it's almost inboxing you with their negativity, and it is reasonable if it's not serving you. I wouldn't take it too personally if you've been blocked though, because it's one comment on one day. And
exactly. I block a lot for poor comprehension.
Poor comprehension. Okay. So the other thing that you said is interesting to me. So Miranda and I were trying to kind of think about how you fit in, and also why she in particular resonates with you, which is we get this sense that you're like you're very independent in the way that you see things. You're not, it feels to me like you're not trying to play the game someone else has set. You're looking and you're creating your own rules all the time. Does that feel? Yeah.
I like to run my own race. I don't like competition in a way. It just, I think everybody should just be on their own journey and try and be better than themselves yesterday. I don't like all of that. I just like focusing on my own stuff, and you know.
And there's something I resonate with as well. That's exactly how I try and operate. The downside with it is that you're not playing the game that other people like you to play. Then you get criticized or maligned in various ways, which we've already discussed. You've also mentioned in some of your interviews around that some of those people who've disagreed have basically got more powerful over time. Just wondering, like, how are you dealing with that, and what advice, because I'm in the same situation, what advice would you give me or anyone listening about those sort of...
Okay, I'll give you a Game of Thrones quote. Power only resides where you believe it resides.
Nice. Interesting.
Was that the quote? Something like that anyway. So, yeah.
Oh, I like that a lot. That's a really good take home. So this is something I think is probably linked, is that what I see you doing most is you're serving your audience. And that's kind of another way of understanding that quote, is that the real power is actually with the people that you're serving, not with the people who are trying to serve the same audience in a different clinic or in a different place. So that's a really good way of understanding it. And I see what I see a lot of doctors especially is actually is a deep concern about what their colleagues think about them, which you're feeling that as well.
Terribly. It's frustrating. When I see it in super high quality, ethical, talented, amazing doctors, and then they have this, that they'll look up to somebody who is really irrelevant to them, and it tortures me. I just think, you're amazing, just be amazing.
Stop waiting for the approval of your colleagues. Yeah. And serve your...
Don't worry about them. Like, you're better than them.
Yeah. That's interesting. Was that something that is that something you've always had in you, or something that you developed?
I think I just think really logically about status and things like that, and power, status, and I think not everybody does. So I think I was born with it.
Tell me, what do you mean about power and status?
So people don't have, I guess what some people are missing is that they don't have the deep belief that everybody's equal. And I have that belief. So I'm always going to be humble, but I'm always going to be confident. And I don't see that everybody has that.
Interesting. So, so you're kind of trying to separate this, you're not playing the status game as in looking for someone else to give you status. You're simply working away on your thing and earning status through the work you do, through competence, status through competence.
Yeah, or the thing is, I feel like everybody has it already.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah. So what I was thinking about your brand in general, what do you think, how do you think your brand is perceived by your clients in particular? Like, what are you known for?
I don't, you'd have to ask them. I think we're known for being quite trustworthy, which is great, experienced, unafraid of new things. What about the doll maker idea that I've seen mentioned quite a lot? I know it's one of your interviews. You kind of hinted that wasn't really a conscious thing. It almost emerged that you became known as the doll maker. Tell us a bit about that journey. Well, I think that's more. Is it media creating that? I don't know. I know how it happened personally, that my hairdresser who was next door to my clinic, we just looked on all of our patients as the dolls that we made beautiful. Mm. So that was the beginning, but then it grew.
So I was reflecting on one of your interviews also, and someone asked you, like, how do you decide where the dividing line is between someone who is basically dysmorphic and someone who's chasing perfection in a healthy way. I thought that would be a good question to ask you again, because I did like your answer last time. But how do you decide?
Oh, what's my answer?
Well, you tell me now. How do you decide when not to treat?
Probably if I know that they won't be happier.
Yeah, that was the same answer. It's essentially, because I actually think it's underrated how complicated dysmorphia is, and you can be quite paternalistic and say, "Oh, I wouldn't have that treatment if it was me, and therefore you're dysmorphic for wanting it." And actually, the real deciding factor, if you're not going to be paternalistic, is that are you able to close the loop and make someone happy at the end of it? And I learned that from some of my most demanding patients who really want perfection, is that so long as at the end of it they're thrilled with themselves and they go off and enjoy life, then the job is done in a healthy way. It's when they're unhappy afterwards, and obviously no one wants to treat those people anyway because it's not enjoyable.
The worst.
Okay, so can
I ask you something?
Yeah, sure.
So I saw that you're the guy who makes the art.
What do you mean, sculpting?
No, I thought it was pictures for clinics. Or is that not you?
Oh yeah, we've got some anatomy posters. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so I was kind of fed up with buying anatomy posters that were either ugly or incorrect. So we made some in the clinic. We've got a few more coming out as well.
I love that. It's really good.
Okay, cool. That's great. I'm really flattered that you know about them. So my next question was something I've been thinking about a lot this year is that because you're achieving some phenomenal goals. I don't know how, like, of the things you've set out to achieve, are you really what are you going to do next? I don't know how you're going to aim for anything more. Have you got more plans coming? Or
yeah. So medicine is a very small part of what I do. So I have other stuff outside. So yeah, I'm always doing lots of different things. But the next big project, which is COVID's put a little bit of a, you know, damper on it, is my skincare coming out. So that was due for September, but the labs are shut, supplies interrupted. Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe February, we hope.
And one of my best quotes about goals is that really you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems, which I really like, because I've realized so many times the things I've set out to try and achieve, that the reason I haven't achieved them is because I haven't built the system around it. So I was wondering if you would share, like, what is your system, if you kind of describe what your system is for kind of maybe launching a product, or it's probably best to ask you about social media. Like, how are you on a day-to-day basis? What's the system for generating this amazing content?
So this is terrible. So I'm a systems obsessed person, except in my social media. I'm like I'm a freestyler in social media, but I'm a systems person in everything else.
Okay.
So yeah, no,
what sort of areas are you using?
Say that again.
So what sort of areas are you using systems that you're most kind of proud of, where they've had the biggest impact?
Probably clinically, yeah. So in clinic, that's where I've put the most effort into systems. Also outside of medicine as well. Yeah.
So that's your kind of that would be the flow of patients and the sequence in which you do things, that sort of system, or yeah.
Automation, documenting systems, just increasing efficiency using systems.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, everything from the system for hiring, onboarding, you know, from start to finish. So the HR systems, the finance systems, the patient journey systems, like every system.
So that's quite unusual, to be both creative and very system orientated. It's a gift. You're lucky. I'm very creative and less good at, I like systems, so I'm not very good at setting them up. I have other people who can do that for me, thankfully.
Oh no, if I can find an implementer, I will get an implementer. I like doing the same as you.
Ah, great. So what are you looking forward to in the next 5 years? You've got your new skin brand coming out, skincare range. Anything else?
So weirdly, my 7-year goal is to be a recluse. And this is so strange, because what have I been for the last 6 weeks? I've got my dream, and it's really weird to have your dream forced on you. But the thing about it is I love it so much, and I know that that's my true dream.
To become a recluse.
Absolutely.
It's amazing. So what are you going to do? What do you mean? What are you going to do with all your recluse time then?
Okay. Well, this is very random, but you know, you can tell I am. Once I have my recluse time, I want to write a military espionage novel.
Wow. Amazing. So 7 years time, we'll look out for a novel emerging.
A thriller, yeah.
I'm sure you'll do it, because you've done everything else you used to do so far. So that's awesome.
What's your long-term goal?
Do you know what? I don't know. I really need one.
You do.
Do you know it's probably something quite weird. We have a big patch of land, and I'd quite like to build a crazy kind of obstacle course for the local kids, and like let them and do like summer camps for kids, and something completely different. That's basically about getting back to my childhood. But yeah, I've not told anyone else that, so now everyone knows.
I love it. It's so out there. That's so cool.
Yeah, we'll see. So I want you to put yourself back now to 1999. You're going back to that conference, but you bump into yourself now. So Dr. Naomi now is bumping into junior Dr. Naomi. What would you tell her in 5 minutes that she should do?
Oh, okay. It's so hard, because I can't look back on, okay, that's really hard, because I look back and I don't know whether I did the right thing. So at the time, I was quite a big property investor from then. So back then, I started doing real estate. And so it was more, I was focusing on the cash flow for the real estate at that stage. When I always wonder, should I have not done that and focused on growing the business at that stage? So I don't know. I still don't know what would have been better. Like I'm happy, and I probably would have been happy either way. But so would I have said, you're just doing great? Or would I have said, hire more staff, do more marketing? I don't know.
And anything in terms of kind of social media and how or when to have done that?
Oh, okay. So if it was now, so if there's this, you know, young injector at their first conference, I think what you've got to do in social media is you've got to get on a platform where you could stand out, where the competition isn't too great to stand out. Like I think somebody trying to get on Instagram as a new injector now would be really tough. But say going to something like YouTube, maybe going to something like TikTok, somewhere where there's not as much, where you could just really stand out. That's what I would do if I was starting again.
So because you were pretty soon onto Instagram, and actually, well, from my perspective, pretty soon onto blogging as well. Is that something you've always just had an eye out for the next platform and consciously gone for the new one rather than the existing one?
So how it happened for me was, so I got into the blogging first, which led me to the SEO. So, and basically I just followed the people where they were at the time. So back in the beginning, they were blogs, they were SEO. And then everybody moved to, and so I was going to the blogging conferences, and because then that was when I wanted to become a content creator. So then at the blogging conference, they were like, oh, you got to get on this Facebook, you got to get on Instagram. So, but then Instagram came later, but then we moved to Facebook and grew that big. And then moved to Instagram and then grew that. So I just following the people.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and I didn't realize that I hadn't come across you on Facebook because you're so big on Instagram. Do you still engage?
I don't bother.
Right. So that's something else interesting, that you're all in on the one that's most hot and kind of let the other ones, rather than trying to do everything on all platforms.
I should repurpose all my content like a good content creator, but like a good marketer, but I'm a bit lazy in that.
It seems to be working for you though.
Thank you.
I wouldn't be too harsh. There's always more you can do, but you're doing a great job.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I think I've covered everything on my list. I don't know if Miranda wants to run in and ask you, because I know she was desperate to ask questions. I know she's watching outside. But anything else you want to mention or say? Or
no, thanks for having me. It's really great. I loved your unicorn video. I'm a fan.
Okay. Yeah, we should do more stuff like that.
Yeah, you should.
I'll be open that I had my doubts around that kind of thing, and we've kind of toed and froed, and actually you're a good example of your channel is basically a unicorn channel in that it's so out there and unique, and it's risky doing those things. I got criticism for that video as well, as you can imagine.
Did you?
Yeah, well, just people saying it wasn't professional, or it was silly. You just get. No, it wasn't a lot of it, because it was just mainly fun. But there's just that mixture of, you're always going to have opinions. We call it, I probably shouldn't say this, but the dickhead ratio. That it doesn't matter if you've got a huge channel, a percentage of people are going to be negative, and it's probably because they haven't had breakfast. But
it's funny that
so fast from
the team.
So I had to invite Miranda just for a couple of questions, because she's a
Is that all right?
fangirl.
Is that all right? I'm a massive fangirl.
Of course.
But also a massive advocate for, I'm sorry, I've literally run from the house.
Oh, really?
I'm also a massive fangirl of the people who follow me, and I want to ask some questions for them, if that's okay.
Okay. Go.
So you kindly said that if you were starting out now, you might go YouTube or TikTok. But
give me some like practical things that you would do to enhance your personal brand, because you are all about personal brand. So what can they do if they're just starting out?
Okay. So I guess they've got to really start from the beginning. They've got to work out who they're going to serve, because I always think about the future. How do you want to end up spending your days, and then design it from, the beginning. So they've got to work out how they want to spend their days, who they want to serve, and then that's going to inform everything, isn't it? So, are they going to be I don't know, are they going to be a luxury? Are they going to be a cheap brand? Are they going to be what location? I mean, they've got to work out who they want to serve first, I think. So
that's an awesome point, because I think that when I started, I just thought, I want to serve as many people as possible. Come on in, everyone you want. Let's get the men, let's get the older people, let's get the younger people, and you don't articulate it. So, but having said that, if I was, watching this now, and I'm Sarah, I'm a nurse from Southampton in England, and I'm thinking to myself, how do I begin to even think who I want? Should she try and go after people like her? Who should Sarah, how can she find out who she wants to serve?
So of course she should go for people like her. That would be so easy, because she'd really understand them. She'd know how to communicate with them. She'd know their desires. She'd know their dreams. She'd know their language. So that'd be the simplest, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And if Sarah she thinks, right, I'm going to go for, Rachel, who's like a similar to me, down the road.
Yeah.
Now, let's say that Sarah she's quite irreverent like you, and she loves a good meme, she'll joke. But the thing about Sarah is she is also a nurse in, ITU or something. And she worries about her Nursing and Midwifery Council PIN, which is her registration number. And she worries that if she's too irreverent like you, that she might get struck off and everyone will hate her. And now I know you guys have already tackled a lot of mindset stuff, so I don't want to take you too far back to that. But where is the line? Have you ever worried about your doctor registration?
Okay, what are you talking about? I've been reported to every board. Oh, geez, from the beginning. Yeah. So I've been, years ago, I was reported to the Healthcare Complaints Commission, 20-page complaint about my blog, reported to the teacher. I've been reported to everyone. So, but the thing about it is, and the other thing is, oh my goodness, oh, wow. I've just been taken back to a long time ago when it was different. You can get away with anything now almost. Back in the past, you had to be so careful, but they're quite reasonable now, I find.
Yeah. So but I don't understand. So you kept getting reported, and you just saying that you were always on the right side of the line. You navigated that well.
Well, I think, I don't know. I always was on the right side, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But it wasn't without stress.
Yeah, of course. But let's say that this Sarah, this imaginary nurse, she might not have the sort of natural born balls that you have. So how is she?
Okay.
I don't know.
She needs to start small. She needs to start with tiny baby steps.
Yeah.
Just start with cute memes or something, not like frightening memes.
Yeah. Full blown. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's wonderful advice. Baby steps, and you can explore it and see how you go. And what you learn on the way, of course, as well, is you learn your own bravery. And I think that what I see in you is someone who is a little bit like, well, give me your worst. I know I'm in my integrity. And so bring all your board members in, they can criticize me, but actually I'm going to be a recluse in 7 years' time on an island. So I know what I want. Amazing.
I just want to offer that what I was thinking about, what you were saying about the fact that you're not very systematic with your social media. That's actually part of the reason it's so successful, is because you're basically expressing yourself as honestly as you can through these processes, and it's like take it or leave it. But you're not trying to contrive a social media strategy, although there's strategy behind it. It's much more closely related to just expressing than it is to anything else, which is, I always think the best businesses become an expression of the owner rather than some sort of logical setup. And that's what I'm seeing, is that it's around expressing yourself rather than trying to be too what's the formula, like.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, I do think that what Naomi has is a clear sense of self. And so I think for Sarah, I don't know if she knows who she is, because she's always been told to be a good nurse, you know, to be a good, you know, be a good girl, you know, make sure that you get all your exam results correct, you know, make sure that you don't upset anyone, make sure that you don't even upset your great auntie Jean, who says to you when she sees you at the wedding, oh, I've seen you on social media, bit money grabbing, aren't you? So that's the kind of thing that Sarah has to put up with. There's all sorts of things that Sarah has to put up with, and so she doesn't know herself, whereas you, Naomi, know yourself. So how did you come to know yourself?
Oh, I have no idea. I feel like I always just knew myself. Yeah, I think I just, no idea.
So give Sarah a tip for how she could get to know herself so that she can express herself on social media.
Okay, so I think Sarah should just post the content. Action. Imperfect action every time. Get it out. Deal with it later. You can always take it down. Just stop worrying. Stop, taking time. Just get it out there. And the other thing about content is people's appetite. You can just be too perfectionistic about content in so many different ways, but people are more grateful for content than you'd expect. So, I mean, a lot of people are. So she just needs to post.
But Naomi, your audience are grateful for your content because it serves them on such a high level. Now, and that's because you have a goal. I read that you have a goal to give 10 minutes of happiness to your audience a day.
10 seconds. Don't give me that.
Sorry. I knew that. And this is why I've just come running over from the house, because I'm so obsessed with my audience and serving them as well. And I think that unfortunately, when people come to the marketing table, they're like, right, what should I do with my marketing? I must do this on TikTok. I must do this on Instagram. And actually, they're not thinking about the person on the other side of that camera lens. They're thinking about, they're not being selfish. They're just so worried that they're not thinking about who they service. So how do you have, like, when you're serving me in the morning and making me laugh out loud and Tim hears me laughing, do you picture me, or do you know me really well, don't you? So how do you serve me?
I know you really well. Yeah. I just know, I just think of people's different needs in different times, in different situations, and I try to give them a bit of everything that they need. I try and give them humor. I try and give them philosophy. I try and give them education. I try and just give them silly entertainment. I just think people need a variety of things all the time, and I want to give them deep stuff, superficial stuff. I just want to give them a bit of happiness. And also there's an even deeper thing that I want to give people. I want to make them, and this informs a lot of my content, I don't know if you'll see this, but I want them to be happier with themselves. So I want them to be more comfortable with themselves. I want them to be, just more at peace.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
It's real. I don't know if you can see that in my content, because maybe you can't, but that's honestly.
No, I absolutely can. And what's so sublime about that statement you just made is, I think if an alien came down to Earth and saw your content initially, this alien would probably say that you were trying to maybe do the opposite, that you were trying to make dolls, that you were trying to kind of create perfection in people. But actually it's that I don't like the whole outside versus inside beauty bollocks, but it's like, actually, if you can just make laugh at themselves because you're laughing at yourself, because you put a funny meme up about how you've used, dry shampoo for the third day in a row or whatever. And I think that but crucially though, that the way you deliver that is with authenticity. And I think people, no matter their intelligence, can spot bullshit at 100 paces. And I think that because you're so authentic, people just follow you naturally. And so, again, coming back to my audience, I think they need to just be their authentic self. And then their tribe will be attracted to their vibe.
That's so true. So I think if they find people like themselves, they just need to say to themselves, what am I struggling with? What would help me? Put some content out.
It's like that great Jim Carrey quote. He says his goal was to free people from concern. It sounds like you resonate with the same thing.
I do. I love that.
I'll send you the link. It's one of his, he did a commencement speech to a college some years ago. And he said that he realized his mission in life, like 15 years ago or whatever, was just to free people from concern, with comedy. And now he's all into the personal development, isn't he, as well? It's beautiful.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So can I ask one final question? Do you have any other questions?
I don't mind it though.
I saw a couple of questions on the Facebook earlier, but some were very tactical. But let me ask you a philosophical question. When you are on your island or wherever you are as a recluse, we won't know because you'll be gone. Will you miss us, or will you have got enough from us to kind of fueled your soul, and then you'll go off and be by yourself?
It's funny because I believe more in service. So I'll be having a rest from serving.
Okay. Wow. And when you say a rest, does that imply that you'll come back to not being a recluse afterwards?
Oh, that was a good pickup. I don't know, maybe.
Ah, you big tease. Okay, fair enough. We will leave you with your get out clause, and you can decide whatever you do with those terms and conditions. You decide.
Thank you.
Okay, amazing.
Thank you so much, Dr. Naomi. It's been a real pleasure.
Amazing.
Lots of value there, I'm sure, for everyone, and some really interesting insights. So
it wasn't particularly, I don't think it was particularly tactical. Maybe we could do another one where we just ask you what apps you use.
What hashtags do you recommend?
What hashtags do you recommend?
Sorry, I'm not a hashtagger.
No, of course, because she's way too big for hashtags. No.
Okay.
It comes to your level where we don't have to do hashtags, but in the meantime, I'm up for a bit of a hashtag hustle. So yeah.
No, what I'm getting is express yourself. Go in gradually, like little tests that you're going to test the waters. Find your voice, scale it up. Worry about your audience, not about what all the people who aren't really your clients think, because they're going to always be thinking negative things. And try and alleviate some concern in your content.
Yeah.
Make
and
it
enjoy
entertaining,
yourself.
fun, enlightening.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for being with us, whatever time it is now, 8 o'clock or whatever now with you. And
wow, that's great. Thank you for having me. It's been amazing.
Oh, thanks, Naomi.
Thank you very much.
Bye, guys. Bye.